I would like to pick and center around preaching as a means to deliberate my message. Many people preach the word of God for different reasons. There are people who are preachers, and there are those who does the work of preachers. They all preach the gospel in sincerity or out of envy, but the fact that remains is that the gospel is being preached. There are men and women who are sanctified for the purpose of preaching. They preach the word of God both in season and out of season, because they are messengers with a message and a mandate from God to actualize. Then the questions that remains are: is everybody a preacher? Emphatically no. The answer is emphatically no. Then what is preaching? I will explain. The Hebrew word kerygma, K-E-R-Y-G-M-A, means properly proclamation or the preaching or heralding of the gospel, especially its fundamentals like Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, and many more things. Preaching is the proper articulation of the good news. Preaching is exacting the message of God with power. Preaching is a wide discussion of the good news. Preaching is the publicizing of the good news. Preaching is discussing the good news. Preaching is simply evangelizing. Preaching is the declaring the word of the wisdom of God with power over specific subjects and specific people. That is preaching. Preaching is a public announcement of the life, the death, the resurrection, the glorification, ascension, enthronement, and the reigning of Jesus. Preaching is the proclamation of the rightly divided word of God for the salvation of mankind and the creation. Preaching is the semination of the truth to actualize a purpose according to the designation of grace through faith. Preaching is declaring the discerned knowledge of the truth so that the wisdom of God remains the only perfect sense-making wisdom. Preaching is declaring the revealed word of God to a life for a life, so that every knowledge that exalted itself above the knowledge of God is brought to nothing. God remains ever true, and every man a liar, that the things be true to be true, be receivable to man. The message of the cross is the sure power of God to those saved. The preaching of the cross is the wisdom of God to those who are saved. The preaching of the cross is foolishness to those who perish. The preaching of the cross is perfect sense to those on the way of salvation. The preaching of the cross is sheer silliness to those hell-bent on destruction.